Procrastination levels have turned extreme on the rat cart. I've been sitting around looking at this thing like this for a couple of weeks now. I did get a couple of hours of work done on fabricating some of the control arms on the front end, but I need to get from here back. I'm hoping to resolve that today. I'm hoping to, within the course of this afternoon, finish up welding the front end and have that 100% complete. We'll move on to cutting some of these rusted pieces out and replacing it with new. And then after that, I'm going to try and set that rear end in here. We do have to cut out some of the existing material in order to be able to fit it, but hopefully we can get a lot of that done. So let's get started. So if this is your first time checking us out on the channel, please remember to like and subscribe. If you are a returning viewer, you're probably like, where are you now? You're normally up in some other garage. Well, we have moved to the back shed. We went ahead and made a little table here. I've got all of my stuff. This is how bad I've been procrastinating, by the way. I was like, oh, let's make a table instead and try and reorganize everything. So I think I'm organized. This does roll around the shed a little bit. So here's where we're at. Well, I also bought some headlights, so I'm hoping to use these as headlights and fab something up in here underneath. But anyway, the air shock mounts were already put in, and what we ended up having to do, or what I'm doing, is I cut half of that leaf spring off and we made one of these mounts. And what I'm going to do is, let me take that apart real quick and I will let you guys know why this is how I did this. So when I was messing around with this in January, I realized that I watched a couple of videos where you should have been able to just put these leaf springs in and this should have moved up and down. In this application, there's a bolt that goes through, right? And that keeps the spring centered and so forth with these other two. So when these are on here in this application, it looks like this. If I can get that to go in. Right? So when that's all bolted down, well, it's not through. Shouldn't be that hard. Okay. So when that's all bolted down, and it's bolted on the end here, there's another bolt under here. This was not, there's too much, there wasn't enough play in here. It wouldn't move. So what we've done is, I made this mount that's going to sit in here like this. And then we'll be able to get the articulation that we need out of that joint. I bought some that have a fitting so we can keep these greased and so forth. Come to find out, it does fit right in here pretty good. So that's working out for me. And then I am finding I want to be able to take these on and off. So I've been cutting a little bit at a time out of here, out of this support. So I cut a piece that we're going to put in here as extra support. So we'll weld that in so that this bar doesn't move around either. So that is what is left of the front end. The other side I have tacked in already. I've got to do this side. So we just bought some round bar. It's kind of out of camera. So for this, I just bought some round bar. We cut it to length. I cut a slot in it and I hammered this down in. The other side is tacked on, but we'll do a full weld on that, both sides, and we'll weld some action on here too. So that is what I've done for the front end. And the reason I did that was because I wanted to keep the factory mounts here. I want to still reuse this front bumper, right? So the other thing was, if I came off of here and just, let's say, welded a round bar to the front, it's going to interrupt the steering components. So with this, I am able to leave all of the steering stuff alone, and it will, the ball joints allow it to go up and down. Not ball joints, the tie rod ends, they allow it to go up and down still without any problem. So that is why I chose to do it this way. So I'm going to bounce that off. I've got to clean this up a little bit. We've got to grind this down a little more so it sits flush. And we'll grind some of that out so you get a clean weld. The gas pedal, we're going to cut all this out because I have a modern one, like from a late model cart, so that we can get the Nidus kit in here. This, we're going to have to cut these out They're just, when you knock on them, it's a totally different tone than down here. And we're going to cut those out. We got these Johnny joints. That's going to be for our rear end. I'm going to notch this out so that this will sit down a little bit lower. This will be welded to the rear axle, but we'll set the rear axle down inside of this tube. So we'll get the bolt in there and everything. I'll show you that as we go. And then after that stuff is done, we'll start putting a floor in here. I am going to have to potentially cut some of this wall out. And this center has to go. I'm hoping to be able to fit the rear end and the motor through there, but if not, we'll have to come forward with a support or something like that to make sure that the Nidus motor will be able to go up and in through that, because that motor is much, much bigger than the factory one. So that's our current status. Before I cut these out, we're going to tack some supports in so none of this moves. It's before I cut this out too. And then I am going to have to cut out the old shock mount, and we'll cut these off as well. So just remember, everybody, I am just some DIY guy in his backyard, in his shed, trying to fabricate something. I am not pretending to be some sort of fabricator or engineer. I've just watched a lot of TV on how to do stuff like this. So we're going to see if I can make it happen. I keep just buying pieces that I think are going to work, and I'm hoping they're going to work. I'm thinking that these are definitely overkill for what we're doing. But overkill ensures that maybe it won't break. But anyway, yeah. So like and subscribe. We're so close to 1,000. That would be awesome if we could crest that. We've got a lot more videos coming on this in particular because we're going to have to do lighting, seating, the air tanks. What else? Full Nidus kit from the front. I'm basically building this right from the rear end forward. I've got a new gas pedal already here with a fresh wiring harness from Golf Carts Modified. And then I'm going to call, who we calling? Plum Quick. Yeah, we're going to call them. They tell me that the Nidus motor will work on this old 19 spline rear axle that we've got, because this rear axle is out of an 88 that's sitting over there that we rebuilt. Lots of videos on that. So let's get started. I'm going to time lapse a lot of this, I think, so that way I can get some work done. It's pretty bad. I mean, I need to revisit how to do this. That's with a little grind. Looks like we're gonna like rubberize undercoat this. Try to grind and hide some of that. That being said, what's the old saying? That ain't going anywhere. Some of y'all are probably like, hey man, put the right shoes on. And you're right. That burned a little bit. So we'll switch shoes here before we start welding up anything more. So here's my first attempt after grinding it a little bit. And this is trying to push it. And I tried pulling, so starting up here and coming back. And evidently I'm a little bit better at that. All right, so these are those little brackets that I had cut out. So this will be going back over to here. Weld that in, put the bolts through. So hey, not too bad, right? Got those ends in. So we paint all this up, hide everything, maybe it'll look a little better. Okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna put some air on this and see how it works. This is legit the first time I'm putting air to this with all of this together. Oh, let's see what happens. If this doesn't work, we're watching the demise of this cart.
Of your spirit.
My spirit.
Ooh.
I think that's all the way. It's all the way, and it isn't even hitting anything. I'm gonna be able to put like 23-inch tall tires on this thing if I want. Look at that.
Then how does it go back down?
You let the air out. This is going to take forever because there's no weight on it.
Yay!
Look at that. Boom.
Yo!
Right. Ready? Let's do it again. Just because. Because it'll be fun. Be my camera lady, Annie.
I'm gonna hit the camera.
Here we go. That's a lot of tire.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's all the way. Awesome. Nothing hits. Okay, so I've wrapped up Sunday with the front end. I did end up painting some of this. That is not my drill mark. That's actually a factory drill mark. I did not do that. But anyway, painted some of this, assembled it up, tightened it down, did a couple more little tests. It's going up and down just fine. Full lock this way. I do have clearance, but it is tight. And these are the wheels and tires that I want to run, but I mean, there is no room there, right? Then this side, we got problems. So come to find out, this side, I welded these, which by the way, here's my first attempt at welding in my life right here. So that's what we're looking at here. But anyway, this here is a ½ inch different than over here. And what I did was when I put these on, I had cut the original shock mounts off and I just went over top of that. So that's where they were built. It just was, it didn't matter so much because the shock was mounted way up there, right? So we're gonna have to address that. I thought about just welding some more material to the bump stop. So that way when this comes over, just stop it. But with all the turning around in a backyard or something like that, I don't really want to lose that ability to turn these around. So I'm going to redo these and I'm going to move them over just slightly. And I'm probably going to grind it. I'll take it all the way off and start fresh. So for the last hour or so, I made these. So here's some new shock mounts that we'll make, or that are made. And the plan here is to cut all that old stuff off and mount these up right here. Which that'll just be cleaner. It won't break. This was just a support that I had put in because this is pretty flimsy. So that's the plan moving forward. I'm going to do that. By the way, this little wheel cover here, right? It's the same one that was on it when I bought it. They are not new. I basically took an SOS pad and I washed them with an SOS pad, and there it is. So I want to use these. These are the wheels and tires I'm going to use for this build, for this cart rather. I mean, you can see the tires are brand new. They were on a cart that I had flipped, that white one that's on the channel that we built. Those are the wheels and tires from that. They've been up here. They've been living up there for about 2 years. So anyway, that's where we're at with this. We made those shock mounts out of this tube. It's kind of been cutting and then grinding, cutting and grinding. So I don't know, pretty happy with that. Also, I did have the front bumper mounted a few minutes ago. So this is our front bumper that we're going to use. That was the same rusted one that came on it. It's ground and cleared, so that's kind of stay that way. And in the beginning of the video, I had a couple of rectangular headlights sitting down there. I do have a plan for that with the bumper. The bumper, when it's low, actually is pretty much right here. I do have a plan for some headlights that are not just drill a hole and stick it in the body, but we will see that in a future episode, and I'm kind of excited about it. Also, these wheels, not going to stay gray. Tires are not exactly going to stay like this, so I do have a plan to snazz those up a little bit. Got these off. throw these in the garbage. This is what they were made out of, so we'll put those back in inventory. And let's weld these puppies on. I know you guys are going to find this hard to believe, but it's now the following Friday. So we started this Sunday, and now it's Friday. But yesterday, I ordered the Nidus kit from Plum Quick. It's here, and I figured I'd crack it open and make sure it fits on this rear axle, because if it doesn't, that's certainly going to ruin my weekend. 80, how many pounds? 86 pounds this box is, which I think most of that is the motor. I got the 600 amp 5 kilowatt one, which is the same one that is in Ron Burgundy, and I just love that. Love that motor. Little boots for the, okay, there's so 4 bolts, and there's 4 openings there, so potentially this is it. 19 spline is supposed to do it. There she is. Clean that things. Oh, there's grease in there. Oh man. Not sure what's holding it back. Oh, there it is. Okay. Don't really want to use the hardware to pull it back in, but what we'll do is I'm just going to try and get it started, but it's on that spline. That's it. That's the hardware that holds it on. So I'll double check the other packaging. We got room now. That's better. And then I had to clearance the bumper a little bit, but we are good. All right, so I think that is going to do it for this video. I've got some yard work I've got to get to and some other things, so we'll put this on hold until tomorrow. But again, thank you for hanging out with us and checking out how this ended up turning out. I think we're done. The only thing left to do is put grease in the fittings. So, and of course, torque everything down and then build the rest of it, fit the rear end. Yeah, anyway, there's a lot to do. But stay tuned, like and subscribe. Give me a comment. Tell me what you think. You know, the welds are okay. Hopefully they hold. I'm going to try and get better. We'll try to get some scraps and practice a little bit more rather than just jumping right on the cart. So anyway, we'll be getting on this very shortly. So we will see you again soon. Thanks for watching.